we've only had a sloppy track in the history of the Derby 3 times. It's definitely going to be sloppy out there this afternoon, and I think that's what people are going to remember about this one.
Well, and everybody wants to know what horses move up in the slop.
Yeah.
You know, that's a tough question, but I can tell you one thing. A horse like Castledale and his trainer, Jeff Mullins, has never, ever, ever raced, trained, or stood on a sloppy or muddy track. So his guess, our guess, is as good as yours. Tom?
All right, Bob. A lot of unknowns in this Derby field. It's also unique for the tents in the infield. We haven't seen those before. And if you remember, last year we sent Kenny Rice to the infield for a report. Volunteer mission only. Well, he came back. We wondered about that for a while, and he took a lot of shots because the infield is famous for being a nonstop rowdy party. Well, guess what? Kenny volunteered again. He is again in the infield just about where he was last year, but it looks a little different, Kenny.
Tom, it's a lot different. And by the way, I got to look at the next assignment sheet and see what exactly volunteer is listed. I am now in the infield about where I was last year. There's a big difference, though. This isn't the college kids' infield. This is your mom and dad's infield. Because of the remodeling here at Churchill Downs, there's been a whole new look at the infield. Most of the people that are here in these luxury tents used to be sitting over in the 4th and 5th rows of the grandstand section up near the Millionaires Row here at Churchill Downs. We did have one problem just about 45 minutes ago when that big storm passed through. The tent over at my right, where you see the 2 tents come together in the drain spout there, what happened, the weight of the water just built up and there was a rip in it about 10 feet long. We talked to a couple of members of the Louisville Fire Department who were here to attend to everything. They said no one was hurt, but about 24 people got soaked and there's about 2 inches of water in the tent. I guess the point is that part of the infield is a lot like that part over there. Everyone is getting wet today, Tom.
And we saw during that thunderstorm, that violent thunderstorm, some people playing in the puddles, jumping up and down in the puddles and having a grand old time. So the party goes on in the Derby infield despite the deluge. There's a look at some of them still playing in that huge mud puddle out there in the infield, throwing a frisbee even across the puddle. Well, if you remember earlier this week, the big news concerned the jockeys' desire to wear advertising logos on their trousers. In fact, 5 jockeys went to U.S. District Court to challenge the Kentucky law that prohibits the advertising patches. Judge John Hayburn granted the right, though, to wear them, and in a separate case granted all riders in Kentucky the right to wear the Jockey Guild logo. That's the Jockeys Union. Jockeys had to conform to the house rules of Churchill Downs, too, but you see the logo being sewn on the trousers, and you'll notice advertising and Jockeys Guild patches today. One of the leaders of that group that sued was John Velasquez, and right now he's with Melissa Stark. Melissa?
Hi, Tom. This is an issue that really only affects a handful of jockeys that are marquee enough to merit that advertising. And you're right. You mentioned that I'm with John. And let me just start off by asking you, were you satisfied with the deal?
Yes, we were happy with the decision the judge made. But I just want to make a point that I think it doesn't just benefit our top jockeys. It benefits everybody in the country.
Earlier this week, you suggested that you wouldn't ride if the judge decided against you. Were you serious, or were you just looking for leverage?
I did not say that. I said if we were escorted out of the racetrack, then I wouldn't be able to ride. I didn't say I was going to refuse to ride.
Okay. Now let's talk about the owners, because they could say, hey, we pay the bills. We should be able to say what our jockeys can and can't wear, or perhaps even ask for a percentage of that deal. Where do the owners fit in?
Well, that would be an issue between the jockeys and the owners. So, I mean, we put the wall down already, so we'll deal with the owners later. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to deal with the owners, so we'll see you later.
John, thanks a lot. Have a safe trip. And Tom, that issue with the owners is certainly an interesting one, don't you think?
It's one that'll need to be reconciled, Melissa, because the owners are the ones that pay the bills. They pay the trainer, they pay the feed man, they pay the vet, they pay the blacksmith, and of course they hire the jockeys as independent contractors to ride their horses. So imagine there'll be a lot of owners that say, if not give me a cut, at least let me approve any advertising that their riders might wear. Well, you can win $5 million on this year's Kentucky Derby without placing a bet, but it's going to be tough. All you need to do, pick the exact order of finish in the Derby. You can register at KentuckyDerby.com. Sign up for free and a chance to win $5 million. The 130th running of the Kentucky Derby. Ominous clouds over Churchill Downs, but the Derby still on schedule, and obviously due to the conditions, the Goodyear blimp unable to fly today. But the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company and its fleet of airships remind you to enjoy the drive on Goodyear's new Assurance tires. And on the backside, just a few moments ago, a look at Smarty Jones in his stall. He has become the betting favorite. He was second choice in the morning line, now the 4-1 betting favorite, and 6 for 6 in his life. It's a story any self-respecting screenwriter would reject, the Smarty Jones story. It begins with Roy and Pat Chapman of Someday Farm in Chester, Pennsylvania. Roy is 77, confined to a wheelchair, and carries an oxygen bottle for his emphysema. In 2001, their trainer, Robert Kamak, was murdered by his stepson, and the Chapmans cut back their operation. But they kept one promising colt, foaled on Pat's mother's birthday and named for her mother's childhood nickname, Smarty Jones. They sent him to trainer John Service at Philadelphia Park, but the first time the colt went to the gate last year, he reared and hit his head on a solid steel bar, fracturing the left side of his skull and his eye socket. The vets thought he would die or at least lose his eye, but he recovered with no ill effects, and soon it became apparent that he was something special.
We see a few thousand horses here a year, and some are very memorable, both for their injuries, some are very dramatic, and then for their personalities, and he was for both. I would have expected him to sulk, be in the corner, be in a lot of pain, and he wanted to go. Some horses that are fighters, some that really try, they love what they're doing, and he was amazing.
He was 8 weeks from the time he left the hospital to the time he got back on the racetrack. He has the will and the heart. He wants to win.
Look at this colt, folks. Smarty Jones, much the best. He is just awesome.
After that run in the Pennsylvania Nursery Stakes, hopes began to rise that this unlikely character could be a force the first Saturday in May.
Everybody here is rooting for us because local jockey, local trainer, and a horse coming out of here.
A Pennsylvania bred trained off the beaten path at Philadelphia Park. Could this horse, his trainer, and jockey really compete in the big time against the Pat Days and Bobby Frankels?
I told Mr. and Mrs. Chapman that they had a special horse and that we needed to really consider putting this horse in the Derby Trail.
Got a lot of speed, and he showed that he can stretch that speed out and run well at longer distances.
Smarty Jones powers up alongside Risky Trick and grabs the lead at the top of the stretch.
3 races, 3 victories. Smarty Jones was undefeated, but doubters remain.
We took the Arkansas route because we wanted to spend time getting him to mature. As long as we're in contention, turning for home, we're going to be tough.
Suddenly, this horse, trained by an unknown and ridden by an untested jockey, was attracting attention.
And it is Smarty Jones in full stride and pulling away. Smarty Jones the winner by 3.5 lengths.
After he won the Rebel, I knew that he could go to the Derby. To get a horse to the Kentucky Derby would be great, not only for myself, but for everybody here at the Philadelphia Park. It would give the people that don't always get to run in those kind of races and have those kind of horses, it would give them hope that there's, that there's a chance.
I've dreamt about the Derby since I was 14, and I made a pact with myself at a young age that I would never go to the Derby until I had a horse in the Derby.
Could their dreams become a reality? It would take a win in the Arkansas Derby on an off track from the outside post.
There was a lot riding on the Arkansas Derby.
And they're in the Arkansas Derby 2004.
I mean, it was do or die. We either run real good in there and go to Kentucky Derby, or we don't run good in there and we go back to Philadelphia Park.
It is Smarty Jones, one step more to Kentucky. Smarty Jones has won the Arkansas Derby. He's still undefeated, 6 wins in a row.
I've been riding 20 years, and this is it. It's probably a one-chance deal for me.
To be able to say, I won the Kentucky Derby, there's nothing better than that.
And in the jockey's room, there's Stuart Elliott live watching that feature. And perhaps the biggest payday, bigger than he could ever dream of, because Smarty Jones eligible for a $5 million bonus if he wins the Kentucky Derby. Charles Sella of Oaklawn Park putting up the bonus for any horse that could win the Rebel Stakes, the Arkansas Derby at his track, and the Kentucky Derby. $5 million. And 10% of that would go to John Service, the trainer, and Stuart Elliott, the jockey. Chelsea, it's some story.
It's a great story. He's just a totally aggressive little horse, and I think the New York Times really captured him when they referred to him as an upwardly mobile machine, and that's what he is.
He's known to us as Smarty and to every racing fan now. Let's check the odds on Smarty and the others. Lionheart still getting some play at 7-1. Master David 9-1. The others all double digits. Smarty Jones continues to rule as the 4-1 favorite. The Cliff's Edge, who opened on the morning line, is the favorite, still 8-1. And Tapit, second choice, winner of the Wood Memorial. He is a 5-1 shot. Well, tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, NBC will be just over an hour away down in Lexington to bring you the Rolex Equestrian Championships presented by Bayer. And with the Olympic Games from Athens just over 100 days away, don't miss gold medalist David O'Connor in a top international field in this major Olympic stepping stone. The Rolex Equestrian Championships presented by Bayer tomorrow 1:30 Eastern here on NBC. Jose Santos last year won the Kentucky Derby in an upset on Funnyside. What a ride that was. He's on Limehouse today.
Welcome back to Churchill Downs. I'm Melissa Stark, and we are now here in the Sky Terrace, where all of the celebrities have gathered to get a great view of the race. And of course, it's called the greatest 2 minutes in sports, but it's actually been a 2-week event leading up to it. 1.5 million people have gone to over 70 different events to celebrate spring, history, and the pride of Kentucky.
Can't go to the Kentucky Derby without a nice hat.
Somebody gonna win, somebody gonna lose.
Very honored and very privileged to be the queen.
Wouldn't be the Derby without a mint julep. Or two.
What's up, kid? Good morning.
30 celebrities.
Take place.
First Kentucky Derby, trying to have some fun.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Derby 4.
Here we are at the Derby. Here we are.
Speaking of celebrities, I'm joined by the very popular Nick Lachey, who was a guest of the Barnstable Brown family, who had a big party last night to benefit diabetes research. And this is your second time to the Kentucky Derby.
It is.
What brings you back?
Well, we had such a great time the first time. We thought it would be great to come back, and we would have made it last year actually, but we were at a wedding, so this is our 2 out of 3.
And your wife, Jessica Simpson, is here, but she's mingling. We couldn't pull her away.
She's mingling. I think she's probably in the betting line right now, spending some more of my money, and I think she's betting on Smarty Jones, or what's that horse's name?
Smarty
Jones.
That's your pick, right? The
Yeah,
Cinderella.
she likes the underdog horse, so that's what we're going with.
All right, we'll have a great afternoon
Thank
here.
you.
And of course, it is all about the race, Tom, but it is also an experience.
And a lot of people like Smarty, Melissa. Let's check the odds again. 7-1 still on Lionheart. No change there. Master David still at 9. Double digits on the others. And Smarty Jones, the last time we checked, was the 4-1 favorite, and he still is. And Tapit, second choice, at 5-1. Did you ever see the old movie National Velvet? Elizabeth Taylor was Velvet, and she loved her horse. Well, Steve Taub, owner of Imperialism, says his trainer is a modern-day Velvet. She's Kristen Mulhall, and she has a horse in the Derby at age 21. 21!
She's a very good trainer. You know, I watch her. She trains at Hollywood where I do, and she does a very good job there.
I mean, there's guys been in this business for a long time and never even got close.
Amazing. I don't even know how that could possibly happen.
When I was 21, I think I was about a fourth semester freshman, you know.
I think I was in the Army at 21 trying to get out of the draft, you know, so I joined the reserves.
Muck and stalls. That's what I was doing.
Tonight, a story worthy of all the history and pageantry that comes along for the ride at the annual Kentucky Derby. It's about a remarkable Churchill Downs debut whose details may surprise you.
I don't feel like I'm 21.
I've always hung out with an older crowd, and I've always fit in with the older crowd. I really didn't have any real true friends. I had a couple, but all they talked about were boys and going out and partying, getting drunk, and how cool it was. I was just never really into that. My horses were basically my guys.
She's done things that haven't been done before. I mean, it's a girl, she's 21 years old, and she's very, very successful. She has a Derby contender now. I can't think of another girl that's 21 that's done that yet. She started riding show horses when she was only about 5 years old. And by the time she was probably about 14 or so, or 15, she started riding jumpers. She was doing so well, I really believe she would have made it to the Olympic team if she would have stayed with them. But she wanted to move to the thoroughbreds, and so that's what she did. She gets a little hard-headed and kind of does what she wants to do now and then.
It was my dream to become a trainer, and I always wanted to be here. I love the horses, watching them and the power and knowing that you worked with them. Most people basically think I just dropped out of school and was handed a bunch of horses and that I have no hands-on experience, and I just jumped in a barn of 30 horses. But it wasn't that way. I've had to work for it, and my stubbornness basically got me here.
She can be as soft and cute and girly and feminine and little and small and all these things she is. When you get to the business, she's like as tough as they come.
My goal is basically to win a Kentucky Derby. That's what I've always wanted to do. And when I was a little kid, that's what I always thought would be fun to do. I never thought I would be in this circumstance with this horse right now, especially this early. But it's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to it.
And Imperialism, trained by Kristen Mulhall, is the number 10. There he is. He has a sunken right eye, which sort of limits his vision in that eye. But as we watched this week, as they trained here at Churchill Downs, he has a definite bond with his trainer, Kristen Mulhall. They are the best of friends. And earlier this week, talking to John Service, the trainer of Smarty Jones, and he said, when I first walk out and look over and see the twin spires and see all those people and realize the enormity of it, my knees might buckle. Well, there's what he saw today. See the twin spires behind him? John Service with his first look at where he hopes for glory later today with the favorite, Smarty Jones. No rain at the moment, but a very sloppy track for the 130th Kentucky Derby, and the Derby horses are making their way over from the backside. This is the walkover, which has become so popular on that sloppy track today. There's 21-year-old Kristen Mulhall. Should she win the Derby with Imperialism, she would be the youngest at 21 years old and the first female trainer to ever win the Roses. She actually made the walkover with 3 horses from the Thoroughbred Corporation. Her dad, Richard Mulhall, the manager of the Thoroughbred Corporation, so she knows about the walkover, but I bet her stomach is turning flips right now. And John Service, we mentioned him, the trainer of Smarty Jones, son of a steward in West Virginia named Joe, who's thinking about making the walkover. He and his wife are here. And John has been so accommodating. I tell you, it's hard to root against Smarty Jones. And of course, Nick Zito, the only trainer in the field that's won the Derby previously. He has 2 chances to win today, and he is an adopted Kentuckian. The fans love him here.
Tom, listen to the people. They love Nick Zito here. Nick Zito was born in New York, but he's an adopted Kentuckian. Nick, they're all cheering for you.
Oh, they're good people. They're great people out here, and they love their Kentucky Derby, so do we. And this is one of the great days in racing, Mike, when you can have this privilege to walk over. It's like roaming over to the Roman army here.
It really is. Now, you've done this plenty of times before. You've won this race twice. How special is it, though? I know you're an emotional guy.
Well, I think it's an honor just to compete in this race, and I think that's the most important thing for me, is just to compete on a high level, and that's what counts.
And, you know, it's sloppy racetrack today. Does that help your chances?
Well, you know, you'd like it to be a kind of a decent track where everybody gets a hold of it. But look, you can't tell God don't let it rain. You can't put a dome on a track. So it's an outdoor game, Mike. It's an outdoor game.
They love Nick Zito. Let's go to Donna Barton.
All right, not only is Kristen Mulhall living every trainer's dream, you're living your dream that you've had since a little girl. What's it feel like to look up at the Twin Spires and you're here?
It's a great feeling. You just get goosebumps doing this. Don't fall in the mud.
Now, you said that these were your boys, the horses. This has got to be your best guy here.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's like my child. He's my little boy, and it's an unbelievable feeling being here.
All right, Kristen, good luck to you. All right, Tom.
All right, Donna Brothers. Kristen obviously emotional as she makes the walk over. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. John Service walking over with his sons, Blaine, who is by the rail, and Tyler, who is on his outside. And, John, your knees didn't buckle, I noticed, when you got to look at the Spires for the first time on a Derby day.
No, actually, it feels great to be here finally, and we're really excited. We're looking forward to it.
And you get a lot of support, a lot of cheers for Smarty Jones and for you coming around the track. How does that feel?
Feels great, man. I love the support, and I just hope we can come through for him.
Okay, good luck to you.
All right, they're heading into the paddock where the horses will be saddled. There's a look at Master David. Let's go to Bob Costas now by the jockey's room. Bob?
All right, Tom, thanks very much. Nick Zito's horse, the Cliff's Edge, is ridden by Shane Sellers, standing here with his very dapper 11-year-old son, Sabin, three-piece, very slick, hasn't gotten wet in the downpour today. You've been aboard the Cliff's Edge for all 8 of his previous starts, none of them in the rain, though. How does the changing conditions change your strategy?
It doesn't change that at all. My horse has one way of running. He comes from off the pace. I need to let him get in his stride, and again, God knows who's going to win this race. I'm not going to panic. I'm going to give him a chance to win, and hopefully it's going to hurt and help somebody. Hopefully it helps me.
You've been an outspoken and sometimes controversial figure. One of the issues you've focused on is the movement to raise the minimum weights with the starvation, the time in the hot box, the forced vomiting that some jocks have to go through in order to be ready to race.
Well, unfortunately, I've been the one that's been beat on by the press, by guys like Wayne Lucas. But I'm in agreement with almost 100% of the riders. And since then, since I've been outspoken, there have been some very big people in the game come forward. One is Mr. Robert Clear at Three Chimneys. He sent me a letter and said, thanks for bringing the weights to the forefront. And with people like that getting involved, it makes me know that we're doing the right thing.
So you think that soon the minimum weights may be raised?
I would hope. I would hope we'd come together and see that this is this is not Shane Sellers' fight. This is a deal that, again, almost 100% of the riders want and a lot of people in the industry want.
Tom, here he is back after a serious knee injury 3.5 years ago and aboard the Cliff's Edge today in the Derby.
Bob, not long ago, Shane thought his career was over. He was starting a country music singing career. He'll be on the Cliff's Edge today, who he said is a handful to ride. And Shane and the other jockeys, 18 of them, posing for the official portrait for Derby 130 just a short time ago. The paddock at Churchill Downs where the Derby horses have arrived and soon will be saddled by their trainers. And for an update on the odds, we'll crawl them for you beneath the picture there. The paddock can be a wild scene sometimes, people crowding around. It makes the horses nervous. And the trainers like to bring them over during the week before the Derby to, as they say, school them, get them used to the surroundings. Friends Lake has been a problem, not only here but at Gulfstream Park this winter. But there he is in his Saul, number 6, being saddled by John Kimmel. Dr. John Kimmel, a graduate of the Penn Veterinary School. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thank you, Tom. We're taking a look now at Friends Lake. As you mentioned, it was the Holy Bull back in January where he really acted up. I mean, he can run like a racehorse, but he's stubborn as a mule sometimes. Kimmel told me earlier this week he felt that he did not give his horse enough time to acclimate to conditions then, because he was much better 2 months later when he won the Florida Derby. But when they brought him here on Thursday to do a little schooling, he would not go in. Time after time, he refused to go in. And so yesterday, Kimmel thought one more time about taking him in, but decided not to. Instead, he said he will not be led into the stall. He just won't go that way. Instead, we are going to back him in. That's what they've done. As you can see here, he is standing still. He looks comfortable at this moment. He will be, we understand now, the first horse that will be loaded into the gate of 18 here today, Tom.
All right, Kenny. In fact, down at Gulfstream this winter, he heard a Beach Boys concert over in the grandstand and settled down immediately and won the Florida Derby at 37-1. Good vibrations. Let's go to our handicappers, see what kind of vibes they have.
Well, the raindrops keep falling on our head here at Churchill Downs. I got an idea. How about putting the 18 names on a wheel and have Pat Sajak and Vanna White give it a good spin for the Wheel of Fortune for this one?
Come on, to me, it looks pretty clear to me. The Cliff's Edge, he won the Bluegrass. He's won 2 races over this track, although, you know, Smarty Jones is 6 for 6, so I guess he could win. And Lionheart, if he gets loose on the front end, I guess he could be very tough. Friends Lake is by AP Indy. He's bred to get the 1.25 mile. Master David, that's a long shot with Frankel as the trainer. Borrego's really getting good right now. Pollard's Vision, I could see him win. Tapit will be flying at the end, Bob.
This is only an hour-and-a-half show. There's 18 in the race.
So I got to
name them all.
I'm really kind of on the fence too, Bob. I think I'm going to go for Friends Lake. I really liked his race in the Florida Derby. I know it was a while ago, but in the Florida Derby, he was powerful. He really exploded. He beat a couple of horses in this race. He beat Tapit and he beat the Cliff's Edge. Here he is. At the end, he's running by Value Plus there. We see Cliff's Edge. We see Tapit was out of the money in that one. I really liked his race. He's by AP Indy. He's going to get the 1.25 mile. I know he hasn't raced since March the 13th, and no horse since Needles has won the Derby without racing in April. I'm bucking history. I'm going for Friends Lake.
Well, I'm bucking history, too, taking a front runner. And that is, of course, number 3, Lionheart, who ran a sneaky good race in the Bluegrass at Keeneland. Mike Smith had to gun him into a faster second quarter than first. That's usually the death knell of any front runner, yet he hung tenaciously here against the Cliff's Edge. I see him have a little pace advantage in this race, and with the likes of Quinton's Gold Rush and Limehouse and even Smarty Jones saying they're going to take back, I think he might be able to steal it on the front end. I think the magic number to think about here is 47 seconds. The half-mile pace is slower. That will advantage Lionheart and Smarty Jones. If it's faster, that will advantage the closers. There is Tapit, and of course he's trained by the mad genius Michael Dickinson. He won the Wood Memorial, the 3rd-generation English horseman, and the mad genius is at it again. What he's doing is checking the track and trying to find the best path for his rider, Ramon Dominguez. He was on the track moments ago. He's famous for this on the grass. He has his girlfriend
he did it on the dirt.
Stiletto heels on the turf.
Look at him checking this out. Now he's going to, with his finger, now he's going to go back and tell Ramon Dominguez what the best spot on this track again. I know why he's called the mad genius. I think that's only half true. I'm not going to say what half.
Don't forget, this is the same guy that at this very racetrack, what was it, 6 years ago in the Breeders' Cup Mile with DeHaas did the impossible. He won off a 2-year layoff.
Why did you have to talk about the raindrops? Because it's really coming down now. I'm taking Friends Lake. I'm going to use Cliff's Edge, and I got to use Numi's horse in there in an exacta box in this race.
Lionheart.
There you go.
Back to you.
All right, guys, and as you can see, the rain has begun again. Now, if you'd like to give your Derby selection, log on to NBCSports.com. And here's the way our Cyber Cappers picked the race so far. 20% have gone for Smarty Jones, Tapit 13%, and Lionheart 13%. That's Numi's pick. The 130th running of the Kentucky Derby on a soggy Churchill Downs strip. Now let's take a look at our Buick Triple Crown moment. 56 years ago on May 1st, Calumet's mighty Citation splashed to victory on a sloppy Churchill track, beating his stablemate Coletown. Trained by 6-time Derby winner Ben Jones and ridden by 5-time Derby champion jockey Eddie Arcaro, Citation went on to win the Triple Crown. He raced until age 6